All right, welcome back, Insane Gamers, and more specifically, Tyler, all the lookers out there, tune in to another installation of the No Look Podcast. It is Monday, March 22nd. Quick birthday shout out to my pops, El Jefe. Happy birthday. Tyler, he went on a 40-mile bike ride. He had dinner with his children, and the Rangers are playing tonight, so he's happier than a clam right now. He's had himself a typical birthday in the mind of Mr. Jeff Cook. So happy birthday to you, Tyler.
Happy birthday, El Jefe.
Yes.
My fellow Aries that I come to find out. Who do the Rangers have tonight?
I don't know, to be honest with you. I know they just had a series with the Flyers and I think the Islanders. I don't know.
They got the Sabres tonight.
Sabres tonight. Okay.
No, would be. I mean, Sabres are trash. I mean, as we know, this is talking hockey for the first time ever on the No Look Podcast, I think. Wouldn't it be amazing? Because Jeff turned 64 today.
Yes.
If the Rangers won 6-4,
That'd be kind of crazy.
be bliss.
We might have to talk that into existence right now. Listen, Zibanejad, Kreider, all the new foreign dudes, which I can't even keep up with you. Listen, it's El Jefe's birthday. You score 6. I know we got the third string goalie in there. Shesterkin's still out. I don't even know what the backup's doing. So they're definitely going to let up at least 4 goals, Tyler. So all I need is you guys to put up 6, and we're good. You can make a diehard Rangers fan happy on his birthday. But Tyler, I just had to get that out there real quick. As I put in the title, that's a little similar, right? Got my words all jumbled up. The madness is real, Tyler. I mean,
Bananas.
I kind of saw this happening. I could foresee this a little bit just because, not every team played that many games this season, obviously with COVID going on. I mean, really, Gonzaga is really the only team I could think of that had a full schedule, right? They had 26, 27 regular season games, which is about on par. But, I mean, there's some teams, right, that might not have played as many games, so they looked better than they, are, where and vice versa. There's teams that looked worse than they could have come to bed if they played a full schedule, right, in their conference tournaments. What do you make of it? I mean, we had every seed except the 16 seed won the first time ever since March Madness has, been a thing with all 64 teams in play. It's crazy.
I mean, nobody could have predicted it. This is the thing. Every analyst, if you watch ESPN or, followed anybody on Twitter or Instagram, they were all saying the same thing. They're like, the thing that March Madness has is the buzz, the aura that these Cinderella teams play or bring to March Madness. So the arena is going to have, limited fans, but not typical to what you typically see with the Cinderella story. But I mean, honestly, it's quite the opposite. We're seeing upset after upset. I mean, there was a major upset today, I guess you could say, with Iowa, who was our picks to win it all on the No Look Podcast.
Yeah.
It's been going crazy, and honestly, there was 0 perfect brackets going into the second round.
It's insane. I mean, I'm still shocked at what they have 1.5 million entries this year. That no one can just randomly generate a perfect bracket. That's just a testament to. As I got a fly on my neck, I had the windows open earlier. this thing's trying to get in on the episode. But yeah, I don't know. Still yet to see a perfect bracket. I would love to see it, honestly, just to say I witnessed it. I'm not sure if it'll ever happen. Yeah, like I said, Tyler, every seed except a 16 seed, which a 16 seed has only won once, right? A couple years back against Virginia. But I mean, what do you think? How do you think like rest versus being hot at the right time factored in? Because we have Villanova, right? Who you and I were talking about when we made our predictions. They lost in the semis in the Big East. You thought that the extra week of rest might play against them, whereas a team like Georgetown, you and I were pretty big on, beating Villanova, beating Creighton, coming in with the hot hand. They lost in the first round. How do you think, is there any like factor from rest versus just being hot? I feel like rest is kind of helping these guys out right now.
Yeah, I mean, everything that I said last week, you could absolutely throw it out the window in terms of teams needing or having rest and coming in kind of lackluster. It's quite the opposite. I mean, look at Oregon today. They had a first round bye almost against VCU after their team had the COVID protocol against them, forfeiting that game. Oregon, I would have thought, oh, they're not ready, for this Iowa team who came out hot in the first round, and it was quite the opposite. They had fresh legs. They were playing on all cylinders. They ended up beating Iowa by plus 20. So I honestly, the more rest, I feel like now it's beneficial to teams. So now teams are, once they get into the Sweet 16, now they have almost a whole week to prepare. A lot of these teams are going to get their legs from under them after a lot of hard fought wins. There was a lot of games that finished under 2 points, under 3 points. I mean, there's one team though that is the team to beat, and it's 100% in my mind, and that's Gonzaga. They play out of their mind. Their chemistry is flawless. I was looking at the roster last week when we were picking brackets, and I was just like, they beat BYU twice. Yeah, they beat Iowa in the early part of the season. They had some big wins in the beginning part of the season, but I don't like their strength of schedule. But they're coming out with their cocks slinging, and they're putting up buckets. They had 98 points, which was the most they've ever scored in the first round or any tournament that they've ever been in.
Now, 98 points for a college basketball team is almost unheard of, especially in the March Madness tournament. Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at the bracket right now, Tyler. They won their first matchup by 33 points. They won the next one against Oklahoma by 16. So, I mean, if my math is correct, it's combined 49 points. I mean, they're the real deal for sure, and they're showing why they were put as that number one overall seed. I mean, do you want to kind of dive into the matchups?
Just pull up the bracket.
You want to look at it?
Yeah, I would love to. I mean, honestly, a lot of the conference that took the biggest hit.
Share it with the viewers as well.
The Big Ten. I mean, where the hell are they? It's like one after one after one after one. Just insane how many teams they lost, even Illinois. But we could go into it. I mean, the first round was crazy. Let's start with the West right here, since it's right here. Biggest upset, I thought for sure was
Ohio, right?
Ohio, but
which I called.
Yes,
Tyler.
you did.
I said, anytime you get a story like what's his name, Jason Preston, I think his name is. He didn't even have that great of a game in the first round. I think he had like 11 points, but the Ohio Bobcats, I believe it is, they got the job done. Now, like you said, Tyler, they're kind of getting beat up on by Creighton.
Yeah, I'm tuning into it right now. Right now, they're down by almost 20 against Creighton. So it's almost like we're going to see Gonzaga versus Creighton in the Sweet 16. But, I mean, all around.
UCSB almost did it for you.
They did. We almost predicted this region pretty well, which I always feel like the West region is a little bit easier to predict.
Yeah.
But obvious clear-cut winner out of in my head is going to be Gonzaga. They're going to come out of this one strong. But don't look too far from Oregon. They are playing fast-paced. They get to the boards. They play great defense. I mean, they shut down Iowa. Besides Luka Garza, who I said was going to be my tournament MVP.
Yeah.
Almost put up a 40-burger on him, but still.
Yeah, I think a lot of people were saying, Tyler, and I'm not a huge Iowa basketball fan by any means, so I didn't follow them too closely this season, but a lot of the announcers were saying that's kind of a typical game strategy for the opponents of Iowa. They let Luka Garza do his thing and kind of try to shut down everyone else, which Oregon followed that game strategy, that game plan, worked out in their favor. It'll be interesting to see, when they, I guess you could say, get a tougher matchup. I thought Iowa was the real deal. They beat them handily by 15 points. The USC-Kansas game, Tyler, should be intriguing. It kicks off a little later tonight. They each won pretty handily. We got USC winning by 16, Kansas a little closer against Eastern Washington, 9 points. Other than that, nothing too crazy.
I mean, let's pick. All right, so it's going to be Gonzaga, Creighton, and I think personally it's going to be Kansas versus Oregon. I think USC is a great team. I just think Kansas plays a little bit harder, and you can't go against Bill Self. Me personally, I think it's going to be Kansas, Oregon, Gonzaga, Creighton. What are your thoughts?
I don't know, Tyler. I was going to say, we're talking about the Big Ten, how they've kind of been the biggest losers, if you will, of the tournament. The Pac 12, on the other hand, has been the biggest winners. I think, unless I'm missing a game that just ended or concluded, I'm pretty sure they were undefeated up until this point in the tournament. You got USC, you got Oregon, Oregon State. Who else am I missing? UCLA.
Yeah, UCLA just won against Abilene Christian, who everybody was saying was a
Yeah.
Cinderella.
So I don't know. I'm thinking that where there's kind of the backstory of the Big Ten flopping in this tournament. I'm almost looking at the Pac-12 saying there might be a story behind the teams in that conference to where we need to take note on. But I don't know. Oregon, I'm not sold on them, Tyler. It's tough to say because they didn't, they've only played one game. They came in with fresh legs, right? They had, a full however many, a week or two rest. Whereas Iowa guys, they played on Saturday. They had to turn around in 2 days, play another full game. So I'll be interested to see how they do. If they beat one of these two teams, then Gonzaga's got to be a little worried.
Oh, just a tad bit. I mean, me personally, I want to see Gonzaga versus Oregon. I think that would be an interesting matchup. Two fast-paced teams, two high-scoring teams. But like I said, Gonzaga wins this side of the bracket, the west side, I think pretty handily. They show their dominance for sure.
I mean, they got to be the favorite.
They're averaging 90 points a game.
Yeah.
That is I mean, yeah, they took down the shot clock to 30 seconds rather than 35 in past years to kind of speed up to have, high scoring games, but I still think you have to play lights out against this Gonzaga team, and I don't think anybody in this side of the bracket has that.
Yeah. We got Ken the Dog checking in. Yo, what's going on, man? Appreciate you tuning in. Talking March Madness right now. We do, I think, Tyler, have a little bit of NFL news to touch on as well. A few more free agent signings. But that's going to be in the latter portion of the episode. Hopping over now to, what is this, the Midwest over here?
This is the South.
South over here, yep. First round, Baylor, number 1 seed, came out strong. Wisconsin, I don't know if you can call it an upset or a surprise, Tyler, but, pretty handily beat North Carolina, gave Roy Williams his first loss in the first round. He's now 29-1 in the first round of this NCAA tournament. Villanova, North Texas had a nice, bracket buster there, 13 over the 4.
I mean, you're missing the biggest one. If you scroll down just a tad, Oral Roberts going to the Sweet 16 out of this side of the bracket, out of the South, beating Ohio State, which deep down in my heart, Austin, I wanted to pick anybody but Ohio State, but I thought that they were a little bit stronger than they portrayed. And then Oral Roberts comes and beats Florida, who has Trey Mann. They play great defense. They have two guys. I forget how you say his name. Max Abrams and then Obamsner or something like that. They scored 40 points combined.
Yeah.
And this tandem's probably the best tandem out of this region in the South. It's going to be fun to watch Arkansas try and stop Oral Roberts because I think Oral Roberts is riding that Cinderella story.
I mean, Tyler, I don't know how you feel, but I'm almost willing to just go on a limb here and put the No Look podcast as an Oral Roberts fan page because everyone loves the Cinderella story. Obviously, Oral Roberts at the 15 seed, the lowest seed still in contention right now. They get Arkansas. I mean, you got to root for him.
I think. All right, I'm gonna out on a limb. All right, Baylor. If they beat Villanova, this is their bracket to lose. Okay. They are the strongest, one of the strongest teams besides Gonzaga in the tournament. I wasn't sure of the stat that they were saying when they shut down the season last year. They were undefeated. I forgot all about that because it seems like it happened a century ago.
Hmm.
But it's like they brought back a lot of those players. They have some of the best defenders in the nation on their team. A guy named Off Night, that's their point guard, who shuts down any single scorer that you have. But Villanova, on the other hand, is putting up serious numbers and they're playing very well. So I think Baylor wins that game. But I don't
Baylor's
know.
fun to watch. They have a guy, I forget his first name, last name Mitchell, Tyler. He
That's
wears
Off Night.
Is that him? He wears number 45. I mean his movement, the way he plays, he's kind of, a more grounded, good defensive guy. He's like Donovan Mitchell's clone, so it's kind of funny to watch him out there. They got a guy, Myers, I think his name is, comes off the bench with a full-on mullet. He was balling out, hitting threes, step-back
That guy's
jumpers.
electric. I love that guy.
They're fun to watch right now. This is going to be a good matchup, Baylor-Villanova. It's interesting to see. I mean,
So scroll back up. Who do you have coming out of the South, out of the two games in the Sweet 16?
I'd have to go Baylor, and I'm gonna ride, like I said, Tyler, with the Cinderella and Oral Roberts. I mean, Arkansas. I mean, so let's talk. We're talking about putting up points right now. Oral Roberts put up 75 against Ohio State, solid. 81 against Florida, whereas Arkansas, they had 85 against Colgate, whatever. He only had 68 against Texas Tech, who was definitely a more offensive-oriented team. Mac McClung, I don't know, he didn't really play up to his caliber. I feel like he should have taken over that game. I mean, they're kind of, I don't know if they were like doing a box one or double teaming him at times, but he definitely didn't get it going at all.
I'm not sold on this Arkansas team, so I'm in agreement with you. I think Baylor versus Oral Roberts in the Elite Eight is a totally legit thing that could happen. But watching Baylor now, the two games that they played, they're too dominant. They're going to come out of the South. They're going to be in the Final Four with Gonzaga in my eyes.
Yep. So we do still have 3 number 1 seeds at large in the tournament. Michigan won right now, Tyler, which I'm not sure if you have the updated score.
19-12, I think.
All right.
LSU's in the lead.
Okay, so it's still early on. Then we got Colorado, Florida State. Colorado showing that they're the real deal. Tyler and I thought Georgetown might come in with some momentum. UCLA, which they were last 4 in, right? The play-in game. They ended up beating BYU. Then they beat another Cinderella team, Abilene Christian, by 20.
I think they would have beat Texas by 22 the way they're playing.
Yeah, honestly. Well, who?
If
UCLA. Okay, yeah.
UCLA played Texas, I think they would have beat them by 20. Johnny Juzang is playing out of his mind right now. And they have a fun little squad to watch. Mick Cronin, I don't know if you remember, came out of Cincinnati. He was always that coach that said my team's always going to be the grittiest. He kind of brought that over to UCLA and South SoCal. That's kind of hard to kind of manufacture players to play like.
Yeah, I feel like Cincinnati specifically in Ohio, they always have a lot of grit. People that come from there. UConn, Tyler. I mean, I could talk
I want you to touch on that. I want you to touch on that a lot. I mean, honestly, then we picked them to go to the Final Four.
Yeah.
And
which so did Wally Zerbiak. So you can't call us crazy because a top-notch analyst who does a lot of college and even NBA. I'm pretty sure he works at MSG, does some Knicks stuff. They only lost by 9, but if you look at the stat line, Tyler, they should have lost by 20. I think they shot, a little north of 20% overall from the field. Horrendous. I mean, they beat themselves, Tyler. Book Knight, he was like 1 for 5 from the free throw line, shot himself in the foot. They couldn't get anything going. They had, they cut it down to a 6-point game at the end, and then it was just too little too late. They were getting offensive rebounds. They played good defense. They held Maryland to 63. They just literally couldn't score. That was really their only reason. Like I said, Book Knight didn't really play up to his caliber that I thought he would have. Yeah, not really much else to say. They just didn't come prepared.
I mean, in my eyes, it's a tough loss for UConn. I played basketball games where it just seems like you could literally dunk the ball and it probably still wouldn't go in for you. And that's exactly what happened to UConn. Book Knight got shut down. He couldn't score. And when your best player can't score, it makes it very hard to facilitate a win. But I mean, I don't think Maryland moves on past Alabama. Alabama is a very strong team defensively. I think they're going to shut down Maryland, and I think they're going to play UCLA. Now, if you
Yeah,
scroll up a little bit, I think you're going to have UCLA, Alabama in the Sweet 16 in this region. I think Michigan's going to come back and beat LSU. I think they're a very good team. But I think Colorado is
yeah.
actually going to beat Florida State. The way that they play, very fast paced. They score a lot of points, as you can see. They have a guy on their team who scores as many points as the best player that ever played at Colorado, Chauncey Billups.
Hmm.
So I think it's going to be Michigan, Colorado, UCLA, Alabama in the Sweet 16.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, if we're solely going off their previous first round matchups, we're talking about Colorado, Florida State. I mean, putting up 96 against a Georgetown team that Tyler, you and I thought were going to come prepared, ready to play. They really shut them down. They didn't really show any flaws that I can think of from watching it. They're a fundamentally sound team. They're rebounding the basketball, played pretty good defense. I think they have a little bit more firepower. I think they can shoot the perimeter shot a little bit better than Florida State, rebound a little bit better. They don't really turn the ball over. Just all things that are a formula for success. So I'd agree with you. I think Michigan should pull out the win to go against Colorado, and I think Alabama should not have a problem with Maryland. They'll go on to face UCLA, which, I mean, I don't know the stats for sure, but as of right now, we have one, two, three, four teams that are, a 10 seed, a double digit seed, already punched their ticket to the Sweet 16. So that's just
It's
madness right there.
this is March, as they say. That's the slogan. And the thing that I love most about March Madness is that it's literally anybody's to win, and it's also anybody's to lose. I mean, you've seen a lot of upsets. Honestly, we said we got Michigan, Colorado, Alabama, UCLA. At that point, I could see any one of those four teams going to the Final Four out of this region. I think this region is up in the air, just like the Midwest when we get into that one. It's
Hmm.
just so hard to predict because unlike Gonzaga's bracket and unlike Baylor's region, it's kind of hard. There's not a dominant team.
Yeah.
Michigan's good, of course, but they're not dominant. I could see them losing to Colorado, and if they get past Colorado, I could see them losing to either Alabama or UCLA.
Yeah. I mean, like you said earlier, too, I feel like it is traditionally, which is weird because it shouldn't like have any correlation with it. It should just be random. But like the West and the South, I feel like traditionally the higher seeds usually do well. Obviously, we have the both two seeds going down, but the one seeds are still at large. You get the 1 versus 5, probably the 1 versus 5 here, and then a 3 or a 6 versus 7. We got the 3 versus 15, and then on the bottom here, you got potentially the 1 or the 8, the 5 or the 4. The 11 beat the 14. We got a 2 and a 10, 11-2, and an 8-12 matchup, Tyler. So Loyola Chicago, got to say it's the upset of the tournament thus far. Taking down number 1 Illinois. And on the other side of it, Oregon State beating Oklahoma State, which, after Illinois went down because they played first, I was like, well, this kind of opens things up for Oklahoma State, right? Cade Cunningham, is that his name?
Yep.
Um, just didn't get it going, much like we are talking about Book Knight, some of the other star players in this tournament.
I mean, Cade Cunningham played out of his mind, in my opinion, against Oregon State. He did everything he possibly could. He just has nobody around him, which we knew all year. That was Oklahoma State. It start and finish with Cade Cunningham. Unfortunately, in the tournament, you face a team that plays a high intensity defense, mixed with a fast paced offense like Oregon State. it just seemed like the whole entire game Oklahoma State was trying to play catch up. And, at the end of the day, they were there. They were tied at one point. They were going back and forth, trading buckets. Oregon State just pulled away at the end. Oklahoma State wasn't getting Cade Cunningham open. They were shutting him down. But I mean, it's this game right here, Loyola Chicago versus Oregon State. I honestly think this is where Oregon State's road ends, because Loyola Chicago probably plays some of the best defense in the tournament. They shit pumped Illinois. They shit pumped Georgia Tech. I think they're going to be one of the toughest teams out of this Midwest region.
I mean, Tyler, they literally have God on their side, right? Loyola Chicago. Sister Jean, I wasn't even sure if she was still kicking around. She's there cheering them on. I mean, they got the fans going, having like a dance party. They're doing some kind of wave. I don't even know. They're fun to watch right now. They have the big man who, left
got the point stash.
Left his hair back in high school. But I'd have to agree with you on this one. Loyola Chicago, I feel like they have a little bit more star power, a little bit more fundamental basketball,
a little bit more experience too. I think compared to Oregon State. I just honestly, this is gonna be my upset of the week right here, and that's Syracuse versus Houston. I actually think Syracuse is gonna beat Houston.
Well, hold on, Tyler. Don't be switching up because you were talking shit about Cuse early on.
I was talking big shit. I talked a lot of shit to Big Tim. Big Tim, my dad, avid Syracuse fan, said Cuse to Sweet 16 right off the rip. I gave him the three puking emojis. I said, there ain't no goddamn way that's happening. And now I'm a believer. Should they have beat West Virginia? I'm not sure. Okay. I think West Virginia kind of lost that game for themselves. But let us not forget Houston, their star player, who I don't remember his name, number 3 or no, I think it's number 3. He has like a French last name.
Mm-hmm.
Has a hip pointer, and he gritted that shit out against Rutgers. Houston should not have beat Rutgers. I doubt he plays against Syracuse, and if they do, they're probably going to run some zone where he just gets completely shut out of the game, because watching him try and come back into the game and facilitate, it made their offense very stagnant. I don't know if Houston, without him, can beat the Syracuse zone defense.
Yeah, I mean, if he doesn't go, that's definitely something to take note on. Definitely have an impact of the outcome of the game. Tyler, backtracking a little bit, you said Cuse maybe shouldn't have beat West Virginia. Could we just talk about Bob Huggins? His look he's got going on.
My guy's got that drip, dog.
Can we like say that's a COVID look, or is he just? I mean, does that correlate to West Virginia as a program? Bob Huggins, he doesn't care about the way he looks. Is he kind of slacking on the way he coaches as well? Because he's looking rough right now, Tyler.
I mean, the guy's got the slick back hair like he's a 80s hockey coach.
He's always had that, but the facial hair looks. I mean, he's in West Virginia, I guess, if he's just kind of keeping his face warm. Yeah, like you said.
But like you said, with Huggy, I just loved when he had the little his little jacket open and the little West Virginia necklace was hanging out. I was like, God, this guy's got some drip.
He's trying to look like he's in The Sopranos or something. I don't know. Cuse, I mean, they're balling. Obviously, Joe Girard, the third local legend from Glens Falls.
Don't even bring him up.
I mean, he's not doing anything crazy. He hasn't played bad basketball. I think he's
averaging like 5 points a game or something like that.
I know he had 11 in one game. So
the real story here is Buddy Boeheim. The dude is balling out of his mind. And his dad, his coach, Jim Boeheim, predicted that. He said this guy, even when he was young, was always the first one in, last one out of the gym. He's just a gym rat.
Yeah.
And he plays with tenacity, and he wants the ball in big situations, and he delivers. He's a bona fide scorer. And honestly, just like Houston, without him, Syracuse wouldn't be this far, obviously.
Yeah.
I'm not a big fan of this Cuse team. Their dynamic is odd to me, but like I said, anything can happen in March. I think if Houston doesn't have, I'm looking up his name right now. If they don't have him, which is, where's his name? Well, either way, if they don't have him,
Hmm.
there ain't no Dejan Jarreau,
Okay.
which he's from New Orleans, which makes sense with that French ass name. He's got that
Mhm.
Creole name on him.
Yeah.
If Dejan Jarreau doesn't play against Syracuse with that hip pointer, I don't see them advancing to the Elite Eight.
Yeah, like I said, definitely plays a factor into the outcome of the game. But Tyler, I'm gonna have to disagree with you. I'm not gonna flip the script like you did this week after completely bashing Syracuse last week, thinking they were gonna lose in the first round. I'm thinking he plays. Even if he doesn't play, I think they have a good enough roster around him. Number 35, I don't know if you still got that list pulled up, but he was pretty dynamic. Houston, they've been recruiting pretty well over the past few years. I think they're just a better, stronger team overall.
That's
And
Fabian White Jr. Yeah, he is a
yeah,
ball.
dude's crazy. I mean, he pretty much put the team on his back in that, comeback win against Rutgers. I thought that that game was over. Somehow they squeaked past them by 3 points. But I think the Buddy Boeheim hot streak isn't going to last. I think he cools down in this game. And Syracuse, Tyler, they live and die by that zone. And when it's going right, it's great. But when it doesn't work, it's horrendous. I think Houston, just a better basketball team. I think they figure out a way, like they do have the big men on the inside. Buddy White, you say, or
Buddy White, Buddy Boeheim or Fabian White.
Fabian White. Sorry.
Yeah.
If they get him inside on that, top of the key position, which you and I know, which we played a zone in high school and watching Syracuse. That's kind of the key to being the zone, right? You get it to that top of the key or on the free throw line. And if you have a guy who plays that position, who can hit, the free throw jumper, who can facilitate from that position, find guys down low, I think they're bigger, they're stronger, faster. I just feel like Houston's going to be too much for Cuse.
I mean, I could see that going that way, and honestly, I don't think this game even matters because I think this is Loyola Chicago's side of the region to lose. I think that they're going to go to the Final Four.
Wow, that's a pretty bold statement. I mean, I disagree. I think their magic has gotten them this far. I think they got one more miraculous win, for this tournament. But right now, you got to look at Houston and Syracuse as the top two teams in that region. I feel like Houston, the number 2 seed, the highest seed left. They've been playing sound, and then Syracuse, 2 upsets already to this point. And Buddy Boeheim, I mean, if he stays on that hot streak, they're going to be the team to beat. But if Houston wins, like I think they will, they definitely got to be. I mean, how can you go against them, Tyler? They're the number 2 seed.
Well, I'm purely basing it off of a hip pointer injury. I mean, hip
Mm-hmm.
pointer, this guy sustained this injury last night. He has to go tomorrow. He could barely even walk on it yesterday, let alone all the cortisone shots and steroids they probably pumped into that guy's hip. He is not going to be the same guy tomorrow when they face Syracuse. And I don't even think he's going to play. And if they get by Syracuse, they get by Syracuse. I just think Loyola Chicago plays such good defense that they could shut him down and they could facilitate enough points to beat Houston. I just think Loyola Chicago is going to be the strongest team out of this conference or this region, part of the bracket, to make it to the Final Four and give someone a run for their money. I think
It's March though, Tyler. Like, you don't think this guy is gonna give his all to be back out on the court? I mean,
he did it last night against Rutgers. He almost was he almost lost it for them, I would say, by being out on the court. He was almost like a decoy. I mean, I get what he was doing and I respect it. The guy has grit out of his ass, and I'll always respect guys that do that. I just don't think that without him, this Houston team is not this Houston team. And I don't think he's going to be healthy the rest of the tournament. I just think they're going to run into Loyola Chicago if they beat Syracuse, and it's going to be a sound game for Loyola Chicago.
but do you think even if he goes out there at 50%, and like you said, what he was doing their last game, kind of decoy, do you think he still can do enough to help the team?
I don't. I really don't. I think they need him at 100% to beat Syracuse. They're riding a hot streak. I think Syracuse, especially when they get into these hot streaks, they feel good about themselves. They play a harder defense. I'm just not sold on this Houston team. Like I mean, they could prove me wrong, but I just think right now my heart is telling me Loyola Chicago is the team to beat out of the Midwest. Now, if Dejan Giroux was at 100% healthy, it would be Houston's division to lose. I mean, there would be nobody in their way to stop them, but unfortunately, he's not.
Yeah, like you said, unfortunately, you never want to see someone get injured, especially at this stage, with everything on the line. So we'll see how it pans out. I mean, it's been interesting to say the least, Tyler. Even with UConn losing, I mean, I've had fun watching.
Yeah, no, it's been electric. I mean, my Final Four, I'll give you mine, you give me yours. I think it's going to be Gonzaga. Can you go to the top? I think it's going to be Gonzaga out of the West region, Baylor out of the South, and then scroll down. I think it's going to be Loyola Chicago out of the Midwest, and I think it's going to be, oh man, I'll just do a coin flip when it gets to that one because the East is just a giant question mark at this point. If I had to say gut reaction, I would want to say, oh my God, and I hate saying this. I would have to say Michigan, but I don't even know if they're going to get past LSU today.
Yeah. I'll agree with you in the top two. It's hard to go against the number one seeds right now is Gonzaga, Baylor. In contrast, over here in the East, I mean, a big question mark is going to be circulating around Alabama. But I think if they beat Maryland, within 10 points, make a statement. I think that's definitely their region. They played well against Iona, who Tyler was saying, oh, Rick Pitino, who this guy's nothing, doesn't matter. He still went out there and played a good game against them. And then on the other side, like I said, I'm staying true and I'm sticking with Houston. The team that I had in the Final Four in all my brackets. I think they're just the strongest, well-rounded basketball team, at least in this region. And we'll see what happens as it starts to shape out a little more.
Either way, our brackets are fucking disgusting.
Yeah.
I only have one bracket where I still have a team that I have winning it all in Gonzaga, probably just like everybody else. Illinois really shit the bed on me against Loyola Chicago. I thought they were a lot stronger, but they got that Big Ten curse on them, just like every other team in the Big Ten. Hey, Michigan might be next. Yeah. You never know.
Nah, yeah, I only have two of my Final Four teams left, Houston and Baylor. Obviously, I had Iowa winning it all. And then from this region, I think I had Texas, honestly, in most of my major brackets. Definitely the one I did for money this year. I don't know. I mean, I'll tell you what, I'd love to see an Oral Roberts versus, Loyola Chicago, and then UCLA versus... who knows? Oregon. Just for whatever. Just to see all the top guys go down, make it interesting. But
I'll tell you this. If Gonzaga loses, I'm just going to go chaotic. I'm going to root for every underdog. Hope that just the utmost uncertainty happens because that's what you do when your bracket's absolutely torn up is you just hope that the most outlandish thing happens in the tournament, which low-key I hope it does. Because I'm not a huge fan on Gonzaga, like I told you last week, but they're the team to beat right now.
Yeah. Coming into the tournament, number one overall seed, and they're definitely showing why they are the real deal. All right, Tyler. We talked our March Madness. I think we got to switch gears a little bit. Talk a little bit more about the NFL. I'm going to take the screen off for the viewers at home. I'll leave it up for you. There were some additional free agent signings that happened over the weekend since our, NFL free agency extra episode last week on Thursday.
Which we knew.
Yeah. I got them pulled up right here. So this one is just kind of in order of which they happened because last time we did, salary size, top to bottom. So now these are the most recent. Darius Philon, defensive tackle, signed a contract with the Raiders. I'm not sure if he was on the team before.
No, he was on the Chargers, which I honestly don't understand what the fucking Raiders are doing right now. They're signing a lot of defensive tackles, a lot of defensive ends. We already have these guys in existence. I mean, maybe they know something I don't. But, I mean, we need offensive linemen. We got rid of literally every single one. And we got rid of our best target for Derek Carr besides Darren Waller this year in Nelson Aguilar. So losing on the Kenny Galladay train kind of hurt.
Yep.
Uh, but I mean, looking down, Daniel Sorensen, that's a key re-signing for Kansas City. He was their captain, if you will, for their secondary, along with Tyrann Mathieu. He's a baller. This guy's one of those guys that will put his head on the line, and he made some key plays in the playoffs. I remember watching. So that's a big signing. And then you have right up at the top, Adoree Jackson, who just signed with the Giants today, which was
Yeah.
a huge signing because a lot of people look at him as a lockdown corner in the NFL. So the Giants are becoming the real deal as our eyes unfold
Yeah.
on it.
No, I was going to say Giants definitely the winners of the weekend if you're going to give out that title. You mentioned it. They won the Kenny Galladay frenzy, if you will, signed a 4-year, $72 million contract. In addition, on the defensive side of the ball, Adoree Jackson, 3-year, $39 million. I mean, I guess they're moving forward with Danny Dimes. They're kind of getting him some weapons. Kenny Galladay, that guy, it can make any quarterback look good. And if they get a healthy Saquon Barkley back, Tyler, ooh, I'll tell you what.
Their defense is nice too. Like they got they got those guys last year from the Packers, and then they got a lot of key acquisitions in the draft for offensive linemen. I mean, they're doing it right. I mean, you don't often see this in New York football teams. With the Giants might actually come out on top in the NFC East, which I mean at this point is anybody's.
Yeah. Well, I was gonna say, going from somewhat of the laughing stock of the NFL, the NFC East might be one of the more interesting divisions this year. Obviously, you got the Giants with all these acquisitions. The Cowboys brought back Dak. We'll see what happens with Zeke. All the receivers are still there. Jalen Hurts is now the guy in Philadelphia. And then the Washington football team, yeah, we'll see what happens. Obviously, Fitzmagic, we'll see what he can do in that new uniform. I think he's trying to just play for all 32 teams before his career is up.
Does he sign with the Packers at any point?
Shit, I wouldn't put it past, I mean, at this point, anything's possible. But
he hasn't played for either of our teams, the Packers or the Raiders, so.
No, he's still got time, though. I mean, This dude's just going to keep playing until his knees give out or his beard starts falling out, which I don't know which is going to happen first. Couple other big signings, if you could say that. Chris Conley going to the Texans, trying to replace, Will Fuller and Kenny Stills, I guess. I'm not sure what their plan is this year, if they're just trying to get a roster of guys that have played before so they don't look too terrible.
Well, speaking of wide receivers, I mean, probably the other biggest one was Juju Smith.
Yep.
He took a pay cut to stay with the Steelers. Actually, the Ravens offered him the highest out of anybody to go intra-division. They offered him like $8 million with $4 million worth of incentives, which, I mean, honestly, Austin, if I was Juju Smith, I would have actually taken that. And I'll tell you why. I don't think he gets the respect that he deserves in Pittsburgh. I think they have weapons that they don't need him. And I think if you add him and Hollywood Brown on the opposite sides of each other with Lamar Jackson throwing to him, that might be a dangerous team. I think he made the wrong decision.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say it's kind of a, respectable decision, I guess, electing to take the pay cut and stay home, not, ring chase, I guess, if you will. But I was surprised that the Steelers even were working to keep him. I mean, you got Chase Claypool, Deontay Johnson. I think Eric Ebron is still under contract. I mean, I think Juju actually had more receptions than Deontay Johnson. But Johnson had like 15 more targets, which obviously that's saying something. If, even at this young point in his career early on, Big Ben is kind of favoring him over Juju. Claypool, I think we've only seen flashes of what he can do on the football field. Super dynamic guy. You get him lined up in the slot, he can do those end arounds, he can catch the long ball. So interesting to see. And who knows, how long Big Ben even has left, Tyler. I mean, Juju is pretty much saying, I'm in it for the long haul. But that's, going along with saying, I don't know if this is going to be with Big Ben or not.
I just don't think that, I mean, ever since that Antonio Brown was there, I don't even think that Juju got the respect of his talents. And it showed this year. I didn't think he had a great year. I mean, like you said, he had a little bit more catches than Deontay Johnson, which I mean, for Juju standards, you would think that he would be a top 10 elite receiver in the league by now. But I mean, if I were him, I'm trying to get more targets. I'm trying to play up to my fullest potential, and I just don't see the Steelers giving him that. You know, respect, like you said, hats off to him staying true to his word and staying with the Steelers. He has mad love for Pittsburgh. I don't see it being returned.
Yeah. No, we're in agreement on that for sure. Some other moves around the league. Deshaun Jackson going to the LA Rams. What do you make of that? I mean, you giving Matthew Stafford another target.
I think this
They
team's gonna be
lost
fun.
Josh Reynolds. They still have Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods,
Yeah.
right? I think Kupp just restructured too, didn't he?
Yeah, I mean, this team's going to be fun for Matthew Stafford, I think. Finally, a team full of targets. Like last year, he only had Galladay. It seemed like with the Lions, he always had one guy that he could trust, and then whoever else was out there was a coin toss to whether they'll actually catch the ball or not.
Mhm.
But now you add Deshaun Watson, veteran receiver, going to help Cup in the slot.
Jackson.
Probably. Oh, Jackson, sorry. Gonna help Cup in the slot. Gonna offset Robert Woods' play style. I think this is a good signing for Deshaun Jackson, if anybody.
Yeah, I mean, the guy's still proved he knows how to run the deep route, and he's still got some speed on those legs, which, like you said, can open up the inside for those other two guys, Kupp and Reynolds, or Woods. They have, Gerald Everett. They got a good young backfield. I'm assuming Cam Akers might be the guy. They still got Darrell Henderson, and who's the
Well,
third
they have
guy?
Tyler Higbee too.
Yep.
He played pretty well last year.
Yeah. So they have a good offense. Obviously, the defense as well, Tyler. They got Aaron Donald, Jalen Ramsey, a bunch of other guys. And, they did as well as they did with Goff. You got to think Stafford is an upgrade, and he's going to be doing all he can to make, a last run, if you will, at winning a Super Bowl.
Oh, let us not forget they have the best defensive player on the other side of the ball too. So, which Matthew Stafford's not used to at all.
Yeah. Well, that's why I just mentioned it. Aaron Donald and
Yeah.
Jalen Ramsey isn't too bad either.
Yeah. I mean, I said he was a shutdown corner. I'm pretty sure I got dragged in the mud in our group chat saying that Jalen Ramsey was, especially against Devontae Adams. I kind of jabbed you a little bit with that,
Yeah.
but
Devontae makes anyone look like a JV cornerback, so that's not saying much. An interesting one right here, Tyler. Within the same day, the Bears released Kyle Fuller. He signs with the Denver Broncos, which talk about another young team, pretty solid defense traditionally. If they get back a healthy Von Miller, having him in the secondary definitely helps. We got the Galladay right here. Xavier Rhodes, Tyler, interesting signing right here. A guy who didn't really, play up. I don't know. I feel like Xavier Rhodes is kind of past his prime. Obviously he didn't play that well last year for the Vikings, but kind of going into a Colts defense that already has, top 5 defense and all the guys up front. I feel like this could be a good move for them.
yeah, definitely a veteran signing here. 6.5 million is a drop in the bucket for them. I think they have like one of the highest cap in the NFL right now. Regardless, they still have to sign a lot of their guys coming off rookie contracts and restructuring things of that nature. But definitely a good move by them. I think it only bolsters their defense a little bit more. But they, like you said, they already have a killer secondary, and they already have an even better up front.
Yeah. So I think looking at it here, maybe the only notable one that happened over the weekend, Keanu Neal signing with the Dallas Cowboys. I mean, we talked about it when we were mentioning, the Dak signing. They got a pretty decent defense with all those guys, Byron Jones, Jalen Smith.
Leighton Vander Esch.
Vander Esch was hurt. So, like I said, this NFC East division, could be interesting to watch this upcoming year, Tyler.
No, and honestly, like I said before, I think it's the Cowboys to lose, but the Giants are saying, knock, 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 don't forget about us.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, I think that was pretty solid, unless you had anything else you want to touch on.
No, I mean, definitely an interesting week. I think there's still a little bit bigger names out there in the NFL. I'm sure there's going to be a shit ton of restructuring. they announced today, I think today or yesterday, that tomorrow or April 29th and through May 1st, they're holding the NFL draft in Cleveland in person, unlike last year where it wasn't in person. So we're going to have an NFL draft this year in person. We'll probably go over it extensively on the No Look podcast. But that's the next thing that we're really looking forward to in the NFL.
We're always looking forward to anything that has to do with the NFL, Tyler. We got our ears and eyes open. But yeah, no, I think we got a good solid episode. Didn't try to do too much, as Jerry Seinfeld always says. You gotta leave the people wanting more. In our case, the lookers at home. So close to the top of the hour. As always, we got Monday Night Gaming coming up at 8 o'clock. Gonna be playing some Warzone. I'm not sure if Tyler's sticking around or not.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah, he's gonna be rocking with us in Verdansk. With that being said, we'll be right back.
Love you.